guys?
Hi.
Excited to be here. Are we all set?
We are.
All right, good luck, good luck.
Hello and welcome to another Team Draft LA draft commentary. I'm Rev, and let's take a look at what I drafted against the Stonecutters. Pack one, pick one. We see Homicide Investigator, Raucous Theater, Helix, and Person of Interest also quite solid. Probably not quite on the same level as these other three. Homicide Investigator is obviously in the weakest color in the set, pretty widely agreed. That said, it is still very powerful and fine on a splash. I'm also not super afraid to get into black with the knowledge that everyone else at the table is also going to know it's the worst color and be less likely to draft it. So if I identify that it's the right place to be, I can get paid off pretty well. Pack one, pick two. We see Connecting the Dots, Gamble. Harry Dronesmith is solid, though I think has underperformed slightly. It's really only really useful in Is It, so it's kind of a secret gold card. Fortunately, there's also an Extract the Confession here, which is, I think, black's best removal spell. I sort of deprioritize black removal spells in general because they are all similar levels of clunky and replaceable. That said, there's nothing else really calling my name in that pack, and it's a fine follow-up to a Homicide Investigator. Pack one, pick three. Case of the Crimson Pulse is interesting. Here's like Murder and Soul Innervation, some of the clunky removal I was talking about. And here's kind of the big turning point for the draft, I think. I narrowed down to Panther and Case here, as I think the two best cards in the pack. And it's just sort of comes down to the direction that I want the rest of this draft to go. And if you've watched any of the previous drafts from this season, you'll know that I definitely prioritize fixing and team draft pretty highly. And that's going to ultimately lead me to the Panther pick here, even though it's definitely not my favorite source of fixing. I still think it's stronger than either of the black removal spells. Black removal in general is pretty easy to pick up if it's where I'm supposed to be, so those are definitely something I'm looking to wheel. So again, it's between Panther and Case, and I go with Panther just because it's team draft. I like fixing. I like being base green to just be able to play any good cards that I happen to open. And we'll see. Had I taken that Case, or had I been more open to being base blue further down the line, this draft would have been very, very different. But moving on to pick four, we see Drag the Canal, Thundering Cliffs, another Soul Innervation, Nervous Gardener, and another Murder. So we can see right off the bat, had I picked Case there, I probably would have just picked Drag the Canal, maybe Thundering Falls. But having just picked up Panther and being past a Gardener, that's sort of a signal to me that green is fairly open. Gardener being number one or number two on the green commons sort of power rankings. So sort of go with that as a signal, and also as just a place that I like to be, base green splashing. Moving on to pick five. Again, we see Deduce. That's sort of a sign of the maybe Dimir artifacts deck that could have been. There was also, I think, a lane just to be Simic and maybe splashing my black cards or something. So Deduce here would have been a totally reasonable pickup had I started on the case there. As it is, having just picked up 2 green cards, I'm going with the Hedge Whisperer here, which is a card that I like a reasonable amount. You know, it can stop attacks in the early game and be a quite formidable late game threat. Back 1, pick 6, we see basically nothing that I'm excited to take. But knowing that I'm headed down the green splashing route, I'm not too upset to play a public thoroughfare in most team draft decks. Also considering Snoop here is just a 2-for-1. That's always sort of something I'm on the lookout for in team draft, especially just anything that replaces itself or digs into your deck. But yeah, we go with the little more fixing here. And I'm feeling pretty comfortable just staying quite open and ready to pick up whatever good cards I see later. And here we see the Raucous Theater wheels, which is pretty on plan for me. It's a black duel. I've got good black cards that I want to play. No red so far, but worst case, it's a tapped black land that surveils, and I can go find it with my Gardener. Yeah, feeling fairly comfortable at this point in the draft. Just kind of knowing that I'm a base green and likely secondary black, but trying to be open. They went this way over, again, basically nothing. Basilica Stalker is fine, but fairly replaceable. They went this way is just another, 2-for-1 that fixes me and keeps me open to the possibilities. But here we see the case wheels. I probably should have taken this as a sign and gotten into Dimir Simic or just like general Sultai artifacts kind of thing. But yeah, I take a look at my pile here and I don't see great ways to solve the case so far. And so I ended up just taking a Hellion as sort of basically a sideboard morph card against any flyers or big creatures that I come up against. And then we see the Drag of the Canal wheels. End up taking it. It is, quite powerful. Just gives you so much for 2 mana. Little situational, little temperamental. Tough to make it work sometimes. But if you can consistently, it's pretty insane. Yeah, again, those 2 cards just were probably a sign that I should have given a little more consideration to being base blue. I've talked about that in past videos as sort of my weakness, my blind spot, sort of latching on to an idea for too long and being too certain of what my colors are. We take a Snoop. We see the Deduce again. Would have been great in the Dimir Simic artifacts build. But very Snoop again. It's just like a disguised creature that 2-for-1s you. Above average, or it's a little bit better of a pickup in team draft than, say, Arena. So yeah, I might have had the blinders on a little bit too much here in pack 1, but obviously either way, I'm still pretty happy with my position. Lots of good cards and lots of potential, lots of possibilities going into packs 2 and 3. Pack 2, pick 1. Tesa, Locked Hot House. Hot House is obviously pretty insane. There's also V2 Gazi Inspector and Datus, Granite Witness. Quite a pack here as well, but Tesa's just kind of a mega bomb. Gives you, it's a 3-mana 2/3 death touch that gives you extra cards and 1/1 flyers every turn. Just slamming that thing, no question. Pack 2, pick 2. Projector Inspector for the blue base deck that could have been, but being more certain that I'm green, I believe I do. Yeah, I do consider the Inspector here, but end up deciding that I am definitely green and not so definitely blue. So the Bite Down on Crime seems like the safer pick here. Definitely sad to pass Private Eye, but it has moved down considerably in my team draft rankings specifically, just because it's kind of hard to pick up unless you already know that you're exactly blue-white detectives. Pack 2, pick 3. We see Steam Core Scholar, another Extract. Since I already have the first Extract locked up, I am not super concerned about picking up number 2. Steam Core Scholar is a very powerful, just Windrake with Vigilance that finds you gas, smooths out your draws. So I'm going to go ahead and snap that up. Steam Core Scholar is definitely a first pickable card, so getting a pick 3 feels pretty good. Pick 4, we see Murder, Slimy Dual Leech, Out Cold. Again, knowing that I am pretty heavy green at this point and going to be running a lot of forests. The Bloomkin feels very strong. There's also a Gravestone Strider here. But I feel like I've already gotten lots of good sources of fixing, and that one is fairly low priority. Pack 2, pick 5. We saw Dual Leech there. I have to read this. Mistveil Plains. Still no idea what that does. Another case. I think it's still arguable that I could have picked up a case here. I'm taking another look here at my artifact makers though, and not seeing ways to consistently solve it. And I think having just picked up the Tesa as well as more highly incentivizing me to be base black, so I can go ahead and pick up Dual Leech there. And then really get solidified here by taking Leering Onlooker over another Projector Inspector. So yeah, at this point, this is pretty much where the decision has been made of my 2 main colors. Another Deduce going around. But like I said, just having sort of made up my mind, I decided to get the sideboard, pick your poison here. I'm a little sad now seeing this sweet blue deck that I passed around. Again, not upset. I have lots of very strong black cards. And I've been passing so much black removal around the table that I'm thinking some of it's bound to wheel, right? Taking a look here to see how much I care about milling or evidence collecting. The answer is not much, so I'm just going to go with another solid disguised creature here. The Crocodile. Pack 1, pick 9. There's another that went this way. Again, I've already got one. Not in a big hurry to pick up number 2, so pick up a cease and desist for the sideboard here. Seems totally reasonable. Alley Assailant is definitely pretty far from a premium disguised creature. Fine to ship that one on. And yes, indeed, here we see Murder on the Wheel. Happy to pick up my first copy of that 10th pick. And then we're just going to wind down pack 2 here. Have to read Mistveil Plains one more time. And now is when I realize that you have to have white permanents in play to make it work. So, having finally figured out how it really works, decide that it is garbage and pass it on. Agency Corner, and it's just going to be a land in the last pick here. So I think the main things that I'm missing out on by not being base blue are a couple of projector inspectors and basically all the deduces I could ever want. So I think it still makes sense in the end. I went into recording this thinking that I might have messed up in not being base blue, but I've sort of talked myself back into black being the correct decision. I've just got lots of very strong black cards, and my 2 rares are black, so makes a lot of sense. Taste is also white, so I will want the fixing for it. Pack 3, pick 1. We see Torch, which is very strong. Insidious Roots, which is funny. And V2 Ghazi Inspector, which I would very much like to play. But knowing that I have the Raucous Theater from pack 1 leads me to pick Torch here. It's a very powerful, scalable removal spell. There's also a Galvanized notable, but surprisingly, that's been one of the more replaceable removal spells in the format. You always play it if you're red, but I am not, so I'm going to take the Torch here. See another Murder, see a Runebrand Juggler, Cravat Haunch, Agent is fine, but Tunnel Tipster, oof, the very last card in the pack there. And my eyes just lit up a little bit seeing that, and then give it a good slam onto the top of the pile there. Tipster also in conversation for best green common. And having just picked that up, we see Eliminate the Impossible, Bite Down a Crime. But just having picked up the Tipster, the Gardener number 2 here just seems like premium pickup. That said, this will be, I think, one of probably the longest tank that I take in the draft. Mostly just trying to convince myself that it's okay to pass Makeshift Binding here. I probably would have played it if I had taken it, but I also feel like the power level of my deck is quite high, and I just want to make sure it plays as smoothly as possible. And again, just Nervous Gardener powering up Tipster on top of everything else just leads me to take it here. Pick 4, another Snoop, Bullrut Clan Crasher. Yeah, I'm a little not excited about passing Bullrut Clan Crasher. I feel there's a good chance that drafter to my left is in red, but again, having just picked up a Tipster, I'm in the market for some more disguise. See, another Projector Inspector. These things just keep coming around. And a Dog Walker. I think this was also a pretty decent tank. Yeah, I'm still not sure about this one either. I think in the end, I decided that there's still a chance. I know I'm playing a little bit of blue. And so I think there's a chance still that the inspector could make the main here. But obviously Dogwalker slipping to pick 6 directly into the hands of a likely red drafter does not feel great. Next up, another deduce. I'm pretty happy to play the first copy of Rebel Belt Maverick in my green decks, though. Go ahead and snap that up. And on the wheel, we see my inspector come back. Pretty happy about that. We also see Roots come back. So let's give another quick look to the pile here and see how supported it is. The answer is not really. But it was a fun idea. Had just gotten the Maverick for it, of course, and we had a bite down on crime from earlier, but Inspector, Utugazi Inspector is just an excellent pickup for any green deck. Murder number 2, pretty late here. Totally fine with that again. It's exactly where I want to be picking them up. Eliminate the Impossible is also something I'm pretty happy to see pretty late here. I think it's just so good against the aggro decks in the format. Nothing for me here. I've already got a cease and desist for the board, so I'm just going to take I'm going to hate pick the strongest white card here, Vigilante. And wind it down here once again. Nothing for me. I've already got enough removal and enchantment removal even, but gonna go ahead and hate pick. Make your move. The deduces were flying. Pretty crazy. Magnifying glass and land to wrap it up, and we're gonna take a look at the nearly final build here. There's Rob's Esper Control build, and we're going to see Alex's low curve Boros build. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think.
Yeah, I am short on playables.